over to you, mate.
Thank you very much. I thought that intro would have a lot more kind of like so it was all good. Well, thank you for coming. As you said, my name is Ben Owen. I'm a comedian. Of course, you already know that, or unless you weren't listening. Before I begin, I just want to make sure that you're all aware that this is a safe space. I'm not one of the comedians that likes to bully people, and that's rude. So I'm not going to bully anyone except you. We'll come back to that. So what's new with me? We'll start with that. Recently I developed quite an unfortunate tic. It means that I start to blink really sporadically. It looks like I wink at a lot of people. Now, that wouldn't be too bad, but coincidentally I'm no longer allowed within 500 feet of the school. So it's all going pretty well for me. What else is new? I got married this year. That was really fun. I was really excited about that. Thank you. Normally there's more like clapping, but everyone hates marriage. So yeah, I got married this year. I was really excited for it. I did think it was going to be a little bit different. I thought I'm going to wake up, beautiful morning, house is going to be incredibly tidy, there'll be perfectly cooked sausage sandwiches. It didn't turn out quite like that. Instead, I wake up super early, I tidy the apartment, put on some sausages, and I'd go back to bed, I'd wake up to the smoke alarm, some perfectly crispy sausages, and it works absolutely great every single time. It is incredible. Try it at home, it's perfectly safe. We didn't live together before we got married. That's a brave decision, I think, but that's what we did. So we didn't live together. And when you move in for the first time, you start to learn quite a lot about each other. You start to learn a lot of things that maybe you love and a lot of things that maybe you absolutely hate. And you kind of think, I've learned enough. I don't need to learn anymore. Please stop learning new things. But you will keep learning things, and it will keep happening. Quite recently, I learned that every night feels like my birthday. I don't mean that in a sexy way, by the way. I mean that in a way of the amount of candles I have to blow out just to go to bed is preposterous. The fact I've not died of smoke inhalation is a medical marvel. That, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, was the maximum amount of time that I'm allowed to talk about my wife on stage without having to sleep in the spare room tonight. That's all a joke. I love my wife to bits. She's incredible. She puts up with an awful lot. Because this is a lot to put up with. I've got suspected ADHD, so if you don't really know what that is, half her life is like living with a Duracell buddy on speed, and the other half of her life is like living with a Duracell buddy on spice. But I'm on I say I've got ADHD, I've got suspected ADHD, I'm on a 4-year wait list. 4 years really is too long to wait for something called attention deficit. But that's how long they're keeping me. I've got to wait all this time. And you kind of start to suspect maybe this is a test. If I call them in 4 years and they're like, oh yeah, here's your result. Why didn't you get in touch with us sooner? They're going to be like, oh, you're incredibly patient. You don't have ADHD. But if I get in touch with us now, they'll be like, oh, well, it's only been 4 weeks, so you've got really good priorities. You don't have ADHD. It's kind of like a catch-22. You've got to find some middle ground somewhere. But if you don't know what ADHD means, you get really chat. I love your shirt. H&M, I love H&M. That was the response I was hoping. When I used to rehearse this in my kitchen, I would always say H&M. Love that. You get really. I love your shirt as well. Your shirt, everyone's shirt. There's so many of you. There are quite a lot of you here today. It's really good for my self-esteem. It's really bad for my ADHD. I was here in November, like they said. I performed to 2 people. It was horrible. This feels like redemption a little bit. I was here during the Argentina v Brazil World Cup, so perfect night for comedy. No one wanted to be out. But I was here. It was great. I loved it. I'm just going to check these notes to see where I am. There's quite a lot to remember in this set. Again, it's ADHD. I'm very distracted. So I've been doing comedy for a little bit. I've been doing this not too long, but a lot of people think it's kind of a weird landscape to be doing comedy in. A lot of people think it's gotten too woke. I don't know if I think it's gotten too woke. It's the thing that you always hear, like everything's got too woke. They cancelled Louis C.K. because he got his dick out. It's like, yeah, of course you cancel that. But people think it's gotten too woke. I would like to play devil's advocate here. I would like to suggest we've not got woke enough. Now, hear me out. There was a bit of tension there when I said we're not woke enough. Hear me out. If we were woke at all, there would be no such thing as naked attraction. Has anyone seen this show? By show of hands, anyone, naked attraction. What a weird show. Pervert. Horrible show. So, for those of you that don't know how it works, it's Sue Perkins' wife, and it's basically porn. But she's there, so everyone's like, primetime TV, why not? But yeah, this show, someone comes out into the middle of the room, they stand there, they're surrounded by these coloured boxes. Really slowly, these doors just begin to reveal body parts like a really pervy PowerPoint presentation. You know when you see people download images with dial-up in the 90s? It kind of looks like that. It is absolute filth. There is a certain point that you're just kind of drawn in, you're like, I can't stop watching. Like, it's kind of toes. Oh, we don't need to watch this, you just turn it off. Ankles. There's Graham Norton on, we could watch that instead. Knees. I heard Ted Lasso's great, let's watch that. Penis. What the hell is that? That's got a micro penis. Keep watching, keep watching. It is weird, and I always find it weird, the thought process that someone would make to go on this show. Like, someone has to be like, I'm going to do it, and then you've got to talk to your parents about it. You'll be like, look, Mum, Wednesday night, 9 p.m. I know the time because of research, not because of habit. Wednesday night, 9 p.m. I'm going to be on the show, please don't watch it. And then you've got to kind of explain what it is, because the alternative is, if you don't explain what it is, they're going to find out, they're going to see it, maybe not on Wednesday night, they will see it on Friday night on Gogglebox. And, you know, that process must be horrible for you, worse for your parents. They're just kind of watching like, I've got this feeling, I recognise their needs. I don't know why, weird thing to recognise, I think I recognise their needs. Isn't that funny? He's got that same tattoo as Ben, the same one on his wrist. Oh, he's got the same one on his shoulder as well, but he's got that. Oh, Jonathan, look over here, look at his face. He looks exactly like that. Oh, I see what's happening. It's not a show I could do. I can't really get behind all this like really sexual stuff. It's just not for me. You know, it's not that I don't like sex. I love sex. I like sex as much as the next man. I like sex like I like my Pringles. And a Texan Barbie. No, original. But I just, you know, I think you can't really get too sexual. You've got to keep it kind of vanilla. Like, I don't want to have a kid in a few years. And every time I look at them, I think back to that time that I was being whipped in a gimp suit while I was hung from the ceiling like a little boy's big. Not for me. We're somewhere in here. You know, I've kind of been thinking about kids a lot more recently. Not in like not in a weird way at all. But you know, kind of like the lies that people tell their kids to mess them up. Any parents in here tell weird lies to their kids? Liars. Every parent tells weird lies. I'm going to tell you some of my favourites. One of them, we'll hold that money for you and you can spend it. Absolute liars. That went on pints the moment they got it. The second one, some of them perhaps, let's spend on that here. The second lie that they'll tell you is, we can't turn that light on in the car, we'll get pulled over. Everyone's heard that one. I think my personal favourite, when Mummy and Daddy fight, it's not your fault. That is the biggest lie that they've told me. But I think one of the weirdest lies that my parents would concoct quite a lot is, you step on a crack, you break your mum's back. Anyone heard that? Cool, it isn't just me. I thought perhaps I was like, you know, being manipulated by my parents. I was terrified. I didn't stand on a crack for years. It was the most dangerous bit of myth busting that I ever did when I was in my shower, just kind of like, I hope Mum doesn't die! But she is absolutely fine, I can assure you. But you know, I kind of think I've been thinking about when kids a lot more since I got married. Like I said, I got married in February, so I've been thinking about the reality of having kids. That I might have kids, but yeah, I got married. My wedding was really nice. A lot of people are always saying, "Oh, my wedding, that was the best day of my life." Now, I love my wife, but yeah, it was the best day of my life. I wasn't expecting that it was going to be the best day of my life. I think anyone that says they love weddings is a liar or a classy alcoholic. Lots of fish on me. But yeah, at my wedding, it was great. And I think weddings, you know, I kind of feel the same way about, you know, them work emails that could have been, work meetings, sorry, that could have been an email, you know, that? And there's just always, everyone's there, no one wants to be there, but there's always one person who wants to be there less than you do. Like, it's that guy that, it doesn't matter what the situation, what the meeting, he's always the one going around saying, anyone know if they've got an open bar at this function? And I think it's the same with weddings. There's always one guy that's just looking to drink, because it's universally is known as the cure for having to spend time with your family or your colleagues is get absolutely bladdered. Whereabouts are we? There's a bit where I'm needing this notepad, and I just kind of need to see if we're here. But I did get sidetracked, like I said, again, ADHD, sorry. Got sidetracked, comedy. I absolutely love comedy. I've loved doing comedy for ages. I've loved it since I was a little kid. But the issue is, you start to get a bit of a writer's block the more you do it, but you keep saying to everyone, oh, I'm a comedian, and they're like, oh, tell me a joke, and you can't think of anything. You kind of hit that wall, that writer's block. And I hate it, so I've kind of come up with a method to get around my writer's block. I'm going to tell you a few of the jokes that I wrote in my notepad. Basically, I was told, write these jokes in your notepad, anything that you think of, anytime, write it down and do that joke. So I want to tell you the low bar for comedy that my mind has kind of set. When I wake up at 1 a.m. and I'm like, that's a joke, and I write it down. So here are 4 jokes. By the way, they're all absolute crap. Get with it. First one. Are you ready? A moth walks into a bar. Bartender says, "We don't serve your type in here." The moth replies, "Sorry, your light was on." Now, crap joke. I thought someone's got to have written that. Google it. No one has. That is how low of a bar I've set for myself. That is an acceptable joke. Everyone was like, "No, not touching it." Next one. Comic Sans walks into a bar. Bartender says, "We don't serve your type in here." He says, "I'm not a type, I'm a font." Yeah, that's the general reaction to that. Nice little groan. This is kind of designer's humour for a lot of this. Now, if you didn't like that joke, I'm going to warn you, you're going to hate this next one. Helvetica Bold walks into a bar. Bartender says, "We don't serve your type in here." Helvetica Bold says, "Fair enough." Because he is a type. That's the difference between a type and a font. Well, a little joke. If you didn't like it, you learned something. What I always say, you're not laughing, you're learning. Last little joke, genuinely, about 3 a.m. the morning after that, I woke up and I thought, I need to add something to this page. Do I write a joke? Absolutely not. I'll write a little footnote, the kind of thing that like classy writers do. They're like, ooh, add a little bit of information to the page. I just added, a bartender was arrested today for mass prejudice. I love that one, it's a little slow burner. Some people, you'll get it when you go home, you'll be like, I get it now. But no one ever gets it on the spot. But that was actually a method that I was taught to help with my anxiety. I'm sure you can see this mess in front of you definitely has anxiety. I got this method when I went to counselling because I had a breakdown when they cancelled Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I'm very unstable. But, you know, they gave me this method. They were like, oh, here, just write all your thoughts, sort what's valuable, what's not valuable. But anxiety, it's absolute bitch. It comes up all the time, it kind of gets in your head. And it's weird, it's not there and then it's right there. For instance, the other day, I went to the gym, I forgot my earphones. I always kind of thought I'm the kind of guy that loves podcasts, you know, listens to really intellectual podcasts. Turns out, no, I just hate my thoughts. Really dark, drowning them out. Podcast. But yeah, I mean, it kind of works, but primarily my anxiety comes in the form of imposter syndrome. I don't know if anyone knows what imposter syndrome is, but it's kind of that feeling, you know, you'd be sat in a room where you're like, oh, I'm not good enough to be here, and you always kind of think someone's going to get to you, and you tap you on the shoulder and go, really sorry, you shouldn't be here. Like in my line of work, I'm a creative. I work with a lot of creative geniuses. They're all really, really good. Now, they've got degrees, they've got all of that. I, on the other hand, am a first-year dropout of Hallam. So it gets really kind of divides the room in Sheffield. It was a good uni. But yeah, imposter syndrome, you see that quite a lot. And it gets quite bad, you know, when you think, I'm a comedian now, is what I do, and you just can't think of anything to write. It gets much worse when they start telling you, did you hear AI can write jokes now? Does everyone know what AI is?
Yeah.
Yeah, artificial intelligence. So they've taught computers to write jokes, which is quite sad. It takes the fun human element out of it. It takes that element of getting to see someone. It takes that element out for you guys, where you get to come talk at me and feel better about your lives, because you're not me. Whereas if you come and you see an AI telling jokes for a little bit, it just kind of makes you think, oh, everyone's replaceable. I'm going to come into work tomorrow, and it's going to be in my chair. And one day that will be you. For now, it's just me. It is quite sad. There's no pizzazz in AI. It's weird. It's a weird landscape that we're in. But now, by the way, we're at the point in the set where we bully this guy. So, can you tell me your name? Matt. Cool. Matt, I am quite new to comedy. I'm a comedy baby, you would say. Now, before I tell you more, I need to know your job.
I'm a conductor on the railway.
Conductor on the railway, I bet you're fun at parties. That actually does sound like an interesting job, isn't it? Conductor on the railways. Wow, okay. No one's ever said that to me as a job before, and I'm confused as to whether to believe it. But we'll accept that. Matt, I am a comedy baby. And so when you start doing gigs, especially when you're quite new to comedy, you'll be doing these gigs, and everyone will kind of say like, oh, just bring a few friends with you. Just bring some friends, fill out the crowd, and then we'll give you something in return. Now it's really weird, and I know that, you know, you get to come, you get to do comedy. I know you're thinking like, when are you going to bully me? So you get to do your comedy with your friends, and you start telling a lot of self-deprecating jokes, like I do. All seems well and good, but after a certain point, they do start making group chats to kind of talk about your well-being, because they don't think I'm okay. They're transsexual. They're not actually, don't worry. But yeah, so, it's all well and good that they're like, oh, come, get your friends, and then we'll trust you a bit more. Promoters kind of do that for me, but Matt, imagine if, every time that you went to work, you have to get all your friends into their select modes of transport, and you're like, look, go now, you're gonna be late, go on, and then you send them on their way. Like, all well and good, but I'm sure if you had to do that every day just so your manager trusts you, you'd probably start formulating a plan to, disappear. So comedy can be a little bit weird, I would say. And I've gone full-time in comedy now, which is fun. It's always nice to be full-time. I'm not full-time by choice, I'm sure you can tell. I'm full-time because I got fired recently. So it's really fun. They were really nervous that I was going to make some jokes about getting fired, which, is obviously understandable, because objectively, the funniest thing that can happen to you is you get fired. We all left after this gig today and we're like, wasn't that a bit funny when he was like, I lost my job? Right, no one could stop laughing because she was cackling, thinking, oh, he's going to leave next month. So yeah, it's really funny, it's understandable why they don't want me to joke about it. Obviously, by the way, that bit's put in there as revenge, it doesn't link to anything. But anyway, I'm going to close out the set with a little bit about why I'm such an anxious mess that I am, why I hate feedback. Because a lot of people feel the need as a comedian to tell you about your gig, give you feedback, break it down, kind of like English A-levels, when they're like, I think you used that word for this reason. A lot of people want to give you some feedback on that. I absolutely hate feedback. I'm going to tell you 2 little bits of feedback that I got that made me really hate it. The first bit of feedback I got from a friend of mine. We've been friends from, let's say, about 5 years. Been friends for absolutely ages. He comes up to me, he's like, oh, I saw your set that you recorded online. I was like, that was great, no one's given me any feedback yet. What did you think of it? Without missing a beat, looked me in the eye, I hated it. So I thought, that's lovely, thank you for telling me. But I thought, probably a little bit more, maybe there's some constructive feedback in there. There wasn't. I was like, why did you hate that? Oh, I didn't like your general vibe. Now listen, that might be fine if I was a character comedian, if anything that you saw here today wasn't me. This is what I'm actually like. This is full-time me. But he doesn't like my general vibe. Needless to say, friends for 5 years, and that was where we capped it. Thought 5 years, that is enough of him. The next bit of feedback I got, perhaps the weirdest little bit of feedback that I've ever got. This feedback came from a guy while I was with my mum. Now I don't know if anyone that's full-time employed here would kind of say, if you're getting a bit of feedback on your work, who's the person that you'd least want to be there for your feedback? It's probably your mum. So I'm there with my mum, this guy comes up to me and feels the need to say, oh, I've seen your stand-up recently. I'm thinking, I know where this goes, it's normally quite bad. But instead, this time he goes, I really enjoyed it. I think you're a great comedian. I think you've got some really bright future ahead of you. You're going to get a book for loads of gigs. Now that might sound nice to you. I was really caught off guard by this because this guy doesn't really have a history of being very nice to me. So I was really, really caught off guard by this. So off guard, in fact, that I almost missed him saying, yeah, I watched it naked in the bath. Now, that bit of feedback is weird at the best of times. That bit of feedback is weird when you get that feedback with your mum. That bit of feedback is weird when you get it in a church. That bit of feedback is even weirder when you find out that's your ex's dad. Very weird. Horrific thing that I had to hear. And honestly, if I'm being completely transparent, I don't know how to properly turn that into a joke. But I've decided while I'm doing this little round of stand-up, I'm going to start telling that on stage, because I think if I go missing, you'll know where to look. Anyway, guys, that is, I believe, my time. Somehow, maybe I rushed through it. Who knows? But that is my time. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you are worried that you've not seen me, check the garden. I'm sure I'll be there. Thank you so much.